Good evening. Welcome to Illinois Law, sponsored by the Illinois State Bar Association. I'm Sam Kavathas, and I'll be your host for tonight's show. Our topic on tonight's show will be personal injury claims. We'll be talking about injuries at the home, injuries at business. We'll discuss auto accident cases and some of the issues involved in that. And if we have time at the end of the show, we'll cover issues with dog bites or animal injuries. Tonight I have three fine guests to help us with our topic. My first guest is Lisa Velez. She's an associate at the firm of Cassidy Shoddy LP. And Cassidy Shoddy is a defense firm specializing in professional liability, products liability, construction, and insurance coverage, among other areas of practice. Ms. Velez is a member of the Illinois State Bar Association and the Hispanic Lawyers Association of Illinois. She is also a member of the firm's Diversity Committee. Ms. Velez also serves on the board of directors for Save a Pet Adoption Center, a no-kill adoption center in Grays Lake, Illinois. Lisa, welcome to tonight's show. My second guest is Ron Kalish. Ron has been a trial lawyer since 1992. He's a partner in the firm of Steinberg, Goodwin, and Kalish. Ron has handled all types of personal injury claims, including medical negligence, product liability, nursing home neglect, motor vehicle crashes, premises liability, street and sidewalk cases against municipalities, and common carriers. He's also argued cases before the Illinois Appellate Court, the Illinois Court of Claims, and the United States Bankruptcy Court of the Northern District of Illinois. He's also done volunteer work by giving back to the community his time to an outreach program for the Chicago Public Elementary Schools called Lawyers in the Classroom, coordinated by the Constitutional Rights Foundation. Ron has also been appointed pro bono counsel in federal court to represent clients in litigation in the Northern District of Illinois. Ron, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And our final guest is the Honorable Judge Susan Zwick. She sits as a trial judge in the Law Division of the Circuit Court of Cook County, Illinois. She was elected to the bench in 1992 and previously served in complex litigation as well as law motions. Judge Zwick is a member of the faculty for both the Judicial Education Conferences and the New Judges Seminars, and currently serves as an adjunct visiting professor in trial advocacy at the University of Notre Dame. Judge, thanks for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
As I said, the first topic that we'll discuss is injuries in the home. And you as the homeowner would like to know or need to know about if somebody's injured on your premises, or if you are injured at somebody's premises, what rights do you have? So let's start out with just a general case of somebody slipping and falling in somebody's home. How do you know if you have a case, or what kind of cases are there for somebody who has a slip and fall in somebody's home?
Well, certainly the first thing is, are you injured? And lots of times things happen to people, and there has to be an injury. And if there is an injury, the next question is, what caused the injury? Was it due to someone's neglect, or was it due to your own fault? And I think that's really the first few things you have to answer before you know whether you have a case.
You know, a lot of times people say, well, gee, I fell at somebody's home, I know the people, I was injured, but, you know, gee, how can I sue my friend? I mean, is there something that, you know, are you actually suing the friend, or is there some other issues that we can talk about there?
Well, there actually is a lawsuit. I mean, there is a lawsuit that's brought against the homeowner themselves, and oftentimes the homeowner has homeowner's insurance, and in those situations the insurance company will retain a lawyer for the homeowner, and you pursue your case against the homeowner for whatever it is that you believe caused your injury, caused your fault.
So even though you're suing the homeowner itself, they usually have some kind of insurance coverage under homeowners to cover that issue.
Most people that own a home have a mortgage, and most people who have a mortgage have to have homeowner's insurance along with that mortgage. So there is coverage for those kinds of injuries. And
well, let's talk about that. Let's say somebody is injured in your home, and you know, they get hurt and they go to the hospital and they have some issues. What do you need to do as a homeowner, maybe to protect yourself or to let your insurance company know about that?
Well, if a lot of times the suit will arise because of the degree of injury. The person who is injured might have no choice. They might have to cover their hospital bills or their medical bills. And if you're a homeowner and someone does get seriously injured in your house and you do anticipate it, first thing you should probably do is make that phone call to your insurance agency. Let them know that there's a problem and see what they can do to help you out.
That's a good point, because you certainly have a duty to cooperate with your own insurance company, and if something happens at your home, you don't want to lose the rights that you have under your insurance policy, which often require you to provide notice to your insurance company. So that's a good point.
You know, a big issue with homeowners, you know, a lot of people don't know this, but, you know, in wintertime, when you have snow and ice and you have things, and, you know, you have a sidewalk out in front of your house or your driveway, and you say, well, I shovel my sidewalk or driveway or something like that. What happens if somebody slips and falls on my driveway or sidewalk? What do you do about something like that? What's the issues on that?
Well, the issues are usually if it's a natural accumulation, then that would not be your responsibility. And as a homeowner, say for example, you wanted to shovel the sidewalk that's abutting your house. That's something that the public policy would encourage you to do. We want people to shovel, you know, to clear the snow and to shovel the snow and ice. And so you're not going to be held liable for doing that because we want to encourage you to do that unless whatever conduct you undertook is willful and wanton. As far
Let's talk about the terms itself. Like, okay, so you go out, you shovel the snow, and you throw some salt down there, and some neighbors walking their dog, and they come by and slip and fall. Are they going to be able to sue you for something like that?
Well, there's actually a statute in Illinois that protects homeowners from liability if they attempt to clear the ice or snow from their own private sidewalk or walkway that touches their property. And if you do it and you don't do it right and someone's injured, there's a statute that protects you. As Lisa mentioned, the legislature passed this law to encourage people to clear ice and snow.
So usually, in most cases, people don't have to worry about that. They can go out and be good neighbors and shovel their snow in their walkways or things like that.
Right.
Correct?
The only time there'd be responsibility is if you did it not carelessly, but willfully or wantonly. And that just
is that a pretty high standard as to what somebody would have to do to be held responsible?
I'm sure there's a scenario where you willfully didn't clear your sidewalk, but I would say that's a pretty high standard.
It's a very high standard. It comes into terminology like reckless disregard or intentional or quasi-intentional behavior. And I think that most people who go out with a shovel or a snow blower, they just want to get their sidewalk cleared.
I can think of an example of, you know, for some reason you're out there and you're spilling. It's below freezing and you've got water on your sidewalk and you're going to try and clear this, melt the ice with water. And I suppose if you poured water on your sidewalk in below freezing weather, that might be an example of something that is so careless that you might have some responsibility.
And how about if you're, you know, a tenant or something like that in a place that somebody else owns? Do you have any responsibility as the tenant for if you do something like that, or who does the responsibility fall on usually for something like that?
Well, responsibility and liability are two different things. If you're a tenant, you want to shovel your walk, I'm pretty sure your landlord's going to be jumping for joy. But if you do it wrong, you're covered under the statute also. Okay. Again, you have to do it recklessly.
Another issue is, you know, you hear is that people who, a lot of bicyclists these days, and people are riding bicycles, and what kind of responsibility who has the responsibility if a bicyclist is riding on a street, they hit a pothole, a sidewalk or something like that? Is there some kind of cause of action against the municipality or the homeowner or something like that for sidewalks or streets or things like that?
Well, there is protection from city and publicly owned sidewalks and walkways where if you are injured, let's say you're riding a bicycle and you encounter a big hole in the walkway, let's say you're on a sidewalk, there is protection against the municipalities that own that. It depends on if you are using the property in its intended, if you are an intended and permitted user of the property. And I think an example of that is, and it depends on where you're riding your bicycle. Some cities have ordinances that prohibit you from riding your bicycle on a sidewalk. And if you are riding your bike on a sidewalk and you encounter a big pothole, you are not an intended or permitted user of that sidewalk because there's a statute that says you're not supposed to ride on the sidewalk. And in that case, you actually would not have a claim against the municipality. But there's other instances where you might.